In this video, we're going to explore on the BERNINA 570 Quilters Edition for the embroidery option of where this design is actually going to stitch in the hoop. So a lot of times people bring it up and realize that they need to actually have the design centered maybe over to the side or down a little lower. So if you aren't just stitching the design in the center of the hoop, I want to show you how you can use this machine's wonderful features to perfectly place a design on, say, a marked area on your fabric. So first off, when you bring a design in, right now, if I just move it, the design moves in the hoop, but my needle doesn't actually move. Have you discovered that sometimes your hoop moves while you're moving a design? Well, why? So here is the option that I want to show you. When you go to the hoop options, scroll all the way down in this first column and go ahead and activate where the hoop, here we go, it's called virtual positioning. So at this point, then our hoop is going to move with our design. So if I go ahead and move it up, it's going to come there. Now, right now, you see a little crosshair in the middle, and that's because, I'm going to go back to the hoop options, I've highlighted the center point to be locked. And then that way, if I've marked a place in my fabric where I want the center of the design to stitch, then that way I can actually come in and move that little locked point to be directly over exactly where I want it to stitch. So I can tip my needle down with my hand wheel and actually see, am I at the place I want to be? Now there's one other way that we can do this. If you go into the eye for information, scroll down so you can see where check is. Again, it's going to double check that you have your hoop in place, and then actually use the arrows to go all the way around the corners. Now, why is this arrow not working? It's because the corner is outside my hoop, and this one won't work either. So actually, to do this so you can see it, let's move this kind of back to the center. It's not that it's bad that you can't see where that lower corner is, but so I can show you what it really looks like when you check a full design and it goes around to all four corners, and then even double check where that center is. That's what it will actually look like. But as you can see with the corners on this design, even though there's not stitches, it still lets me position this design and the square box around it, even outside the perimeter of the hoop. But as long as the stitches are inside, we're good to go. Now there's one other area that you can go into. I mentioned virtual positioning, and so I am going to go into and turn off that center lock point. That means that I have the ability, if I want to actually, and I'm going to zoom in on that. So we have the position then. So if I want to actually see where that dot is going to stitch or that particular area of the design is going to stitch, it's showing me that point is going to be right here on my fabric. So why is that important? That would be important if I had already stitched a design and I wanted to link them up. And it will allow me to then match that point of the new design right on top of where the last stitch of the last design was. And so, or any stitch within that design. So I can touch them or make them connect. If you're doing any edge-to-edge quilting with your embroidery machine, that's a perfect example where you want those to actually connect after you re-hoop, and that allows you to bring it right back on top of the stitch that you're connecting to. That does take a little bit to master, but with the way the machine allows you to move all the way around the design, it is actually pretty fun. Just remember to activate the moving, put the hoop on, and then actually touch in the hoop area this virtual positioning. Try it first with the lock on just so it makes sense as you're moving it. And then once you have the design moved to the location you want it to sew in, go ahead and touch the needle and thread to start embroidering.